Hey, I am streamcasting because I'm not calling it broadcasting, remember. I just got this thing. It's a flash drive. They're handy. And I got this thing. This little thing right here. It's a charger. And I am at Starbucks having coffee, and I thought, I don't know, I thought I'd streamcast. I know the angles. I know, right? Well, it is kind of a weird angle. It's, I don't know. Sometimes I think the future is getting to me, or the present. I mean, think about existing outside your own time. Hey, and look at that. I've been scrubbing my face forever, it seems like. No help. Oily skin. It's all right, because I don't have a lot of wrinkles yet. And God knows how old I am. Seems like forever, like they've been keeping me asleep. Or the censor police are like provoking thoughts. I know that doesn't make a lot of sense, but it might. I took that photo last night of the Swedish flag, you know, covering half my face. I love those Swedes. I don't know very many of them. I mean, I do here in the States, but one day I'll go there. If they'll have me, they'll be like, that one? Jeez. We tried to get rid of them. I'm kidding. Now he's coming back. Ugh. Wow. It's not like I was that was part of the black sheep of the family there too, you know. Might have been like something about reforming the parishes and feudal wars and I don't know. I'm just guessing. Jenny, if you're out there somewhere, I mean, thank you for the help with that poem, translating it for me. I never thanked you before, but thank you. It was nice talking to you, by the way. And my Swedish, not very good, but I tried. Like I can do in most languages, right? But not speak because of fear. You know, I just am afraid. Except you'll be proud of me. The other day at the restaurant, I spoke in Spanish. Well, mainly because I was like, there's other people. No, I got it. I was like, they're on their time. And oh, look at that picture. I like them. Coffee beans or some kind of beans. And there's something in coffee that's good for you. Maybe it's the caffeine. Who knows? I was going to say maybe it's the antioxidants or the free radicals. Yeah. But I don't know if there's free radicals in there. That's what the antioxidants get, the free radicals. But I might be wrong. It'd be nice if there were little free radicals running around in your food and you're like, ah. You know. I know. I was impulsive again. I was like $6 for a phone charger. It was bargain basement shopping. I mean, I asked the guy too, does it really work? Because I didn't want to spend $6.99 if it didn't work. But it was the cheapest one there, so I was like, it's gotta work the best. You know, if you buy like $150 one, then it's like bound to break in like a week, or you lose it. The $6 ones, you're like, I lost it. It's like sunglasses. You lose the cheap pair, not a problem. The expensive pair, yowza. That's why I never buy expensive sunglasses. I was just thinking about that. The electricity. But I know it's weird holding this thing, but I used to take pictures with it. Well, I still might. I still do on the photo booth. By going around town and just spinning you around. Like I used to do. But I looked in the developer and I was like, not in the dark room, because I haven't been in the dark room in a long time. I mean, sometimes I hide in the dark. But that's just me. And no more spending, 16-hour days in the dark room. Just tootling around, talking to the other dark room people. Well, Susan was there, and Veronica, and what was his name from Canada? Keel? I can't remember his name. I think that's what he took that picture of me with the medium format Hasselblad camera sitting in the chair, and then he printed it for me, which was really nice of him. Names. Oh, no more names. Keel. Sorry, I didn't know what your name is. Do you know what else I don't know? Do you know all those people that I took photos of in Washington, D.C.? I don't know any of their names. Not that I'm asking for a list of names. But it'd be nice to know, like, hey, I was there with you, and and I lied to get in. Don't ever think that some kind of lying is okay, because I was really working for the school on schoolwork. I wasn't. So, and I was a nurse, so I could get a Medicast. I mean, it wasn't like I didn't tell the whole truth. I told the truth. I did. I was working for the school on my school project. And remember, I didn't grow up with those same values. So, I mean, it's not that those values aren't important. It's just that I didn't grow up with them. I mean, it's hard to, but they didn't bring us to church from the state hospital. Or the adolescent treatment unit. And they didn't have, they didn't, I think Pastor Carlson or Dumpke came to visit me in the Rice Memorial Hospital when I was there with Mary and Dave. I don't know. Those aren't painful events. Okay, and Sean says, you're a gloomy Gus. And I'm like, just because I talk about the past doesn't mean I'm in it. Still. It's not like I can time travel. I said what would happen if I could. I would be like, those police would be after me. You just can't break those laws of nature or time. I think time is outside of nature anyways. It's like an independent force that has some rules, but I mean, it's not like they're bound by human constructs. They're not. Well, Sean was talking about humans being time police, and I was like, oh, God, no. We'll leave it to humans to be time police. Not a good job for them, because they would be like, they would have judgment and experience. Well, what if you could go back to what if you could go back? You wouldn't exist. I told Sean that if you could go backwards in time and change the past, then your present or future wouldn't exist anymore. And it would be like a null effect. which would not be good because the whole entire timeline would be different. And that would be, well, somebody would get after them. They would not want to be the one responsible for that. It is, well, remember we talked about non-linear time and no straight lines in space? That there's curves. And light doesn't just go, it's like all over the place. Not that I know, I'm not an astrophysicist. Or I don't pretend to be one. I don't even know if that's the right word for it. Elsa might know. I haven't talked to her in a long time. I kind of, well, I was excited to talk to her because I was like, a relative. Yeah, I found one. No, and she was one of the Leverance girls' daughters. So I have pictures in storage. Oh, I might have them on the hard drive. I'm sure somebody dug around in that little mess. They couldn't read the backs of the photos though from what was online. They couldn't see the backs of the photos. And they couldn't decipher some of the cursive probably. Grandma's writing was always, I knew what she was saying. Well, it was almost like she was telling me what to get. Like, throw that away. Don't have my phone records. All right. I probably would have proven that she talked to the everyone. I swear her phone bill must have been like hundreds of dollars a month. I think it was, well, and I had her old farm phone number written down for the longest time. I have it written down somewhere on some document or a book somewhere. Well, and if truth be told, I want that Limitless Bible just to look at it and take pictures of it. I don't need to have it, but it would be nice to see it. And to see if the Andersons had any such sort. I don't know. The Andersons might have been a little different. I stayed away from them. Well, except for Auntie Alice. I mean, I did stay away from them a little bit. And Auntie Alice kept record too. I didn't have much of her records, but I had a notebook that she wrote, like what people were doing, because Grandma told her. Auntie had to write it down too. I remember that day, and don't laugh. I mean, I might laugh because I was a nurse and I was like watching her, and I thought, oh no, we got to do something. And I told on her. Because she put a bag of frozen vegetables. And I was like, Auntie, you need some help there with the, And she made me, when I mowed the lawn for her, I would mow the lawn. And then she would make me take a shower in the basement. In that open room shower. Oh. You know how that basement was. Well, there's food down there, like candy and ice cream and pastries. And a shower with an open toilet. But she was particular about how the lawn was mowed. And I always was like, and Chrissy, you remember, or Chris, you remember, you mowed the lawn over there too. It's fun. It was always fun going over there. And it was, I don't know, it was just something. You know what I was looking for actually? I'm sorry to skip around so much from time to Auntie Alice to like mowing the lawn, batteries. There's some reason, but I was looking for a black or a gray battery charger, but they only had colors. And I was like, I got the kind of purplish one. It is purple. It goes to my black phone. Sometimes I'm like, that phone doesn't even work. I don't even get any phone calls. It's like, why do I need one? But I like playing it. Sean has his tablet for games. He plays this restaurant game, and I don't know the other games, the scratch-off game. But I was like, and then I was bored. I was like, I don't want to play. It's not like playing dress-up with you and Sabea, Mia, because that was, I used to watch what you made, and I'm like, that is really pretty. I was like, you too. And then I would mail them to, like, send them to, well, I sent them to your mom, I sent them to your uncle, Rick, sent them to Margie. I was like, look what they made. And that one game, that was a hard game. I tried to play it. That one with the island and the water, and I tried to play that game myself, and I was like, it was fun. Of course, that's, you know, well, you were going to be in technology anyway, so it was like, I knew that you girls were going to be smarter than me. I mean, you already knew how to use this computer, and I was like, all right, just play away, have at it. You know, it's not like I wouldn't keep my personal stuff separate from family stuff, because, you know, I wouldn't keep a lock on, you know, a family computer, but on a personal one, not until you're older. Holy Hannah, that would be a nightmare. Because you would find all those things, and I would be like, you girls digging around in history, and then I would have to, like, edit everything and then go back and, like, delete history, and I wouldn't do that. But some of this stuff was like, really? You had to do that? Sheesh. Hey, you know what I did see? That picture of you, Savannah, in the bathtub with the bubbles all. That's so cute. I love that photo. And your mom, don't take pictures of them in the bathtub. And I was like, it's not like that. They were soap suds and, like, and you know what? My daughters, and there were soap suds, and it wasn't like it was private parts. It wasn't. Jeez, lighten up. They were cute. And you guys didn't mind. You were like, you know. So that's me. I was taking pictures of daily living. And sometimes I was like, oh, I'll just prop you up on the pillow there, because it wasn't because, oh, you're a toy. It wasn't because of that at all. It was because I liked the picture. And you, sillies. I know, when you look at photos, you're like, oh, geez. But I took a lot of photos that were like, food all over your face. That was cute, too. Well, we never worried about, it's like, who cares? Let them. And there'd be like, but sometimes there's food there for days. And I'd be like, oh. Hey, you know, whatever. Whatever, you know, it's like neither here nor there, really. I feel like I'm on this secret mission. But hold on, let me see. This battery charger, they said it worked for $6, but it doesn't seem that bad. I'll probably burn it out. This phone seems to suck up the battery juice. It's some Sky device. I don't know. At one time, I thought they had my phone number listed as SkyTel. I was like, I looked into that SkyTel messaging, and I was like, where am I? And then they expect me to believe these far-fetched stories like, oh, it's somebody else's phone and they never cleared the data. Yeah, hardly. It was in a box when I bought it. Not that they take it when I'm sleeping. I know they do. Or something happens because in this and the desktop it was back to that mountain picture, and I'm like, I've already passed that challenge. And I'm like, well, not a lot of people have made it up the mountain yet. And I'm like, well, should have asked. Not that I need to rehash that whole thing, but geez, ask next time. You know? And when you don't ask, you get in trouble. I mean, really. Not that I want anybody else to be in my position, because then they would be like, ugh, really? But, and I swear Sean up to something. I don't know what, but I did say what my family would do. The entire family. The origin family. They are not always the easiest people either. I talked to Chrissy, and she's like, yeah. Yeah. Well, but you know, would my sister lie to me?
I never would have thought. I'd have been dealing with 6, 7, 8 reports.
Well, she might. You see, this is another time when I'm doing one of those companionship. See, I've almost got you with me. Don't worry about it. We're together. It is funny because I told her that I take you with me to dinner.
Get that nudge.
And you don't argue with me.
Yeah.
You know. Well, you do in your head, in your mind, but not in person because you're more sociable than that. But in your mind, you're like, ugh. Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Oh, I was gonna see. I wrote some notes. Don't dig in my notes either. God. But and you know they keep wanting me to enter my password, and sometimes I do this lock screen so they can't get into it. Oh, I was talking about DNA. We talked about that before about being a signal. Can you imagine if you could encode information in DNA? Well, you can, because that's, that's never mind. But if you could send it backwards through time, well, those time police would be not, well, you know about Star Trek 101. Don't do that. You get in trouble. No, the galaxy police get it. They come after you. Not that I'm already beyond it, so weird, right? Oh yeah, and if you judge people, make sure your life is perfect, because somebody will be there to judge you. And it might not be this lifetime, or the next, or the next, or the next, but it'll happen. And I harp on the Christians all the time. I do. Well, because for one, their beliefs are that their maker forgives people and is the judge. And it's like, really? Because you seem like you're doing this job. And I'm like, I'm not doing this job. I wouldn't have that job. I'd be like, be too busy with my own self. Besides, it's going to be a circus when people get there. It's going to be like, oh, you did what? And they're going to, oh, well. You judged me. Ugh. Back downstairs. But I want the Buddhists. Come on now, you guys. We know. Not so pleasant always, and so strict, and so disciplined. And Sean might be right. Westernization probably helped Buddhism a little bit because they made it a little bit more flowery and like. But I'm not sure if that. Well, who knows? Wouldn't it be nice though if they were all over here, just running around? Those little, you know. I mean, it would be interesting. Not that I would call them all here and like. It'd be interesting to see them. Well, and they could almost handle any environment too. They'd be like, oh, in hell? Well, I guess if we have to go there, it wouldn't be so bad. It'd just be another part of this experience. Heaven, hell, same thing. It's just another part, you know. And so, but some people would be like, oh, hell, I can't go there. And it would, you know, and it's like, well, other people could. They could be like, well, if I have to, it's not like I haven't been walking there before. And I volunteered once. I said this isn't voluntary anymore, but I'll manage. You know, it's the talking that helps. It's like, and Sean was right. I did say I would reorganize hell. Not that they would have it that way. Let him do it. I think hell would be a better place if I was there. You know, the devil may care. I think he really did. That's why, well, Lucifer did. That's why he went falling for people, fall in love with them. They don't want you to know that. They're like, he's the devil or Satan, but he really fell in love with people. That's the fallen angel thing. It's like, oh, somebody's got to be with them people. Who else would do it? Oh, the outcast, you know. Get it? Fallen, loved. Falling. I don't know. There's some other word that means something different in a different language that's really old that I won't talk about. And my translation of Santos, you know, the furious one, that's whatever it is. But angry at the other angels for being so judgmental on people. You know, I mean, that's Christian mythology. I don't know exactly if they were angry, but what's his name was out doing whatever, taking care of some other things. And I don't know. Not what's his name. It's whatever they called him. It was some other word for it, but it was an old word. I don't know what it is, but you know who does? That Francis guy. Not that he would talk about it. They probably don't like Francis because they're like, he's going to shake up the old order. He might even let priests marry finally. I mean, you know, might solve some of their repressed sexual desires. I mean, vows being vows, though. I mean, if they want to keep them, go on. But, you know, if you're really following, you know what I mean. You know what I mean. It's get out there in the people and start doing stuff. Not that you're not, but you know what you should do, and this is just a suggestion, is get the people up there to teach about their stories on Sunday and share, and then be like, wow, thank you for sharing. That's a really good lesson for the congregation. I don't know. That might, if I said that that's what I would do if I was a teacher in spiritual realms, is learn from other people. Not that I haven't already done that in my lifetime, in my physical lifetime, because I did. And that's why I watched people, and I was like, oh. And sometimes, yes, I made up stories about their lives before I even knew them. I was like, oh, look at them. I wonder if they're well, who knows why I did that. But I didn't go, oh, look at that one, how ugly they are. I was like, oh, look at their legs, like, look at the way their muscles. Oh, another topic, breaking that whole line of conversation. Do you ever think about the physical body and think how it works without you thinking about it? Like, you don't think about, move my calf muscles, or move my fingers like this. You just do it. You don't have to think about it. Well, that's a seed for a different conversation. It has to do with phantom pain and some other medical breakthroughs. But I don't know. It's not like we're going to be cyborgs in the future. But, you know, there might be a marriage between technology and biomedical devices. I don't know. There might, I mean, I'm just throwing out ideas, like the phantom pain issue. If you can feel it, sense it, see it move, a severed limb, and that already signaled in your brain, there's got to be a connection between that and the physical world. I mean, why else have it? Well, it's a memory. It's an ingrained memory pattern. It's just an idea. It's like, wouldn't that make sense if you could trigger that memory to functionally move an extremity that wasn't there anymore? I would just give that idea out there. And your brain already thinks it's there and it's gone. So why can't you make a connection? I mean, really, if it's a lot of it's up here. I mean, those patterns are already set. So, and it's memory. And remember, it doesn't matter if it's real or imaginary, it's still memory. And you can recall it the same way. Like sometimes I see memories that aren't my own physical memories, or my own, but they seem like, they're like, the other night I told Sean I was watching this whole scene on the wall, and I was like, geez, who are those people? What is going on in their lives? Well, I told him to, and never do this if you can. Never jump into somebody's body and like start. Never do that. That's like, no. I said that time that I did it, I was like, I am not doing that again. Ever. It's wrong. It's invasive. And I saw the kid doing, I mean, I felt like I was dressing his clothes for him. He wasn't a kid, he was like a college kid. And I was like, and not in this country. And I was like, well, I called him son, and I was like, that is spooky. But, and I saw him run through that alley and meet that girl, and I was like, kissing and then running off late to school? No. Not that that was bad, but I mean, and then they looked out the window at school and looked, I saw him in that chair too, and I was like, that kid. Well, that's another story. But think about that. You know, think about the memories that you have in your mind, and think about phantom pain. Think about doing something with that memory and like making technology work with the mind. I told you about that thing I was going to sign up for, the mind computer interface. I never did it that I'm aware of. You know, well, it would make a lot of sense, and you know it would work. And I'm not sure if it would be an externalized, like they do with the brain simulators, or if it could be an internal implant. You would have to hit the right types of signals. But those could be mapped with PET scans or MRI or new technology. I mean, I'm just thinking, I'm not really, you know, that intelligent on those matters, but I'm thinking if memory works like that, and if you, I'm just going to say this again so you hear it. If you can sense and feel an extremity that isn't there, and it's called phantom pain, why can't you trick the mind into using an artificial device to work exactly like the original device? I don't know. It could work, but it would take some smart people from Minnesota to figure it out. Or Scandinavia. I like the Swedes though. I love them the most. And they're probably like, that one again? Jeez. Can we get away from them? No, never. And that, well, I told you that already. That guy said that the king had to be Lutheran, and I didn't know anything about that. I told Chrissy, and she said, really? Well, and sorry, my glasses. That one ear is a little bit, it's, you know why? It's a little bit, it's because I do that thing with my ear where it moves, and I think the muscles around it kind of jacked it up a little bit. Who knows? I know, I'm like a teenager with all those pimples. I don't know why I get them. It's not like I don't drink enough water, but, you know, oily skin. It's weird. It's kind of gloomy and drizzly outside. It reminds me of being somewhere else. It's kind of got that mist in the air, and it's about that temperature, and it's about that, you know.
We rented a vehicle, so I think every night.
Well, and if somebody did dig up the rest of that family tree, my family tree, I want the Cliff Notes. I'm kidding. Get it, Cliff Notes. Fall in love. Not that they would be like, oh, if we had to meet him, he's part of our family. Ugh. Well, at least I taught him, like, you just got to be like, well, accept it, because you can't do anything about it. Some of them might be like, well, I'm really conservative and I don't really agree with you. And I'd be like, well, I love you anyways. Thanks for being part of my family, Gene Pool. And they would be like, I don't think they'd be like that. I think they'd accept me. They'd have to. It's a fact. I mean, it's not like I could say, well, undo it. I couldn't. I wouldn't. That would be tampering. And I would imagine that some of them would have to like look inside themselves and go, what about me? How did, you know, What about me? Ugh. I don't know what they would do. Sometimes I think it would be most difficult on my mom's side. I don't know why. Or the Anderson side. I think the Lindquist side, they would have been like, weirdo. Well, maybe not. Our Mr. Hallquist, he had to have the tallest obelisk in the cemetery. Grandma told me that. You know, and not that, you know, back then, he was somebody in the church. They had that League of Gentlemen, and I don't know what they did. Grandma never told me. But then the women's group, the ladies, they had their own deal going on. And I wonder sometimes if there were Norwegians living out there by them, or if that was where they put the Swedes and Norwegians that broke the laws, you know, out in the country. Well, if they got married without permission, it's like, you know. Well, maybe a lot of people don't know that, and then they think, ooh, you know, when blacks and whites couldn't marry, there were already things about inter-ethnicity marriages going on, like bad blood. And you're like, they're so similar. But, you know, a lot of people don't know that, you know, that if you were from this country or this nationality, you could not marry another. It's like forbidden love. Ooh. And that was in American history. But we don't learn about that in school, in high school. Because it's like, well, why should you hate each other? You guys are both white. And it's like, well, they didn't hate each other. They were just nosy a little bit. And they were spied on each other a lot. And they tattled all the time, those old timers. Not to each other. They wouldn't tell another. Well, not the Norwegians wouldn't tell the Swedes. It would be like the Swedes would tell the Swedes what the Norwegians were doing. Not that I was back there, because I wasn't. But you know how it goes. And that telephone game just became a nightmare. But that's what history remembers. It's like one person told one person, and they told another, and then another told another, and then they told 4 others, and then 5 others, and then you take away one of them in the middle, or take away 2 of them from over there, and then you're like, who said what? Who knows? Because those others, they're gone now. And you're like, well, who started it? And it was like, well, who knows? Because it was a story, passed on by a story, passed on by a story. And then it was like, whose story is it anyways? Is it your story or is it everybody's story? It's probably everybody's story. And that's all right. Not that that's a lesson in and of itself, because it is. I'm not trying to preach that lesson because I'm not a preacher. What I am trying to say is that everybody has a story, and sometimes their stories change based on who's telling them. Not that that's the God's honest truth. And everybody's played the telephone game. Of course we have. I have. Well, somebody told me. And then they're like, who was it? Well, I'm not going to say. And then guess what they do? They call somebody or text them and go, I heard that. Well, I told them that, but that's not what I said. And they're like, well, that's what so-and-so said. Well, who said it? I'm not saying. And you're like, well, and then by then, it's all over because it goes exponentially. You know, one person tells one person, and then they're like, I heard the same story, but it was different. You know, like, what? And me, I listen to all the stories. I'm like, well, I could believe that, or I could believe that too. And then, what would you decide? And I'd be like, well, I don't know. They're both right because that's the story that I heard. Well, I mean, and then you ask the original person, and you're like, oh, well, you were there. What did you experience? And it's like, well, that's not how I would describe it. And it gets into this weird realm of like, who should I believe? You know, well, that's up to you and your maker. I mean, it's not up to me. Because I would be like, well, I'm walking away. You know, you guys fight about it, argue. And I'm going to be like, when you're done arguing and fighting and you want to hug and make up, you know, then I'd be like, all right, now what? And, oh, I'm only at 10%. I wonder if this little charger works for I suppose it might, the computer. I never thought about that. What if you had a little charger pack on your computer? Just plug it in and charge it up? I don't know. I sometimes think in the future or present, you might not need computers because communication would be done differently. It might be more subtle than language. Language can be kind of harsh. It might be just like sounds. Not that language isn't sounds, but you know, I don't know. Maybe it would be some other form of language. God only knows. Hold on. I gotta change that because that'll get me in trouble. Sometimes I do that and then I'm like, oh, somebody's gonna say, little bunny foo-foo, no more hopping through the forest. You know, I do love that one though, little bunny foo-foo. And down came the good fairy and she said, I don't want to see you. You know. No, she would, I want to see you, but don't hit those little bunnies on the head. Field mice on the head anymore. It'll probably, I know, it's like, look at my hairline. It's like, I know I cut my hair. You can hardly see the scar that I got, like in my youth. It's right there. Right there. Not that you need to know that's important to identify me by, but I saw this paddy wagon like vehicle outside the hotel, and I was like, "That's a paddy wagon, all right." And like, I was just funny. I guess you had to see it. Maybe I'll take a picture of it. It's like, it looked like one of those. What do they call those animal control vehicles that was painted like loose animal? Pick it up. You know. Well, then you pick up one of the loose animals and then you bring them to the town and it's like, who's going to adopt that? That'd be me. They'd be like, I'll adopt that. And you know, that's what it is. When I would get animals from the Humane Society, I would pick the one that was the most afraid of me, or the one that was like in the corner. Like, and sometimes the cats would come up to me and go, and I was like, I want that one. But that was just in Chester. He was the littlest, the little Chihuahua I had, and shivering like he was afraid of the world. And I was like, you gotta have him because he needs a home, you know. And Louie, that little blue Chihuahua I had, he was the meanest dog. And I was like, I'll take him because no one else wants him. You should have seen him. He was vicious. I mean, he even got after me feeding him. I'd be like, settle down, little boy. Settle down. I don't know. I think I went all over the place again. We talked about batteries. Not those kind of batteries. We're talking about, you know, cylindrical batteries. And they're purple. Auntie Alice, the Norwegians and the Swedish, or the Swedes, internationality mixing. God forbid that ever happened in history, right? Well, think about what they used to do. They used to marry you off into another family to like seal the deal. You know, somebody got some goats and some olives and some cheese, some flatbread, maybe a parcel of land or a couple coins and some olive oil. They were like, please take this one. We can't find a home for it. But it's weird. Sometimes, well, and they did that for a long time. They used to just marry people off for goods and land and services and blah, blah, blah. Well, it actually still happens. They'd still do that. They don't tell anybody. Oh yeah, some families, arranged marriages, leave. No. Well, you know what happens then? Cheaters. They cheat. Even though sometimes love, in the past, sometimes people got married and they didn't love each other, and they're like, we'll grow into love or fall into love. And it's like, well, oh yeah, thanks for the partner or the person of like life interest that you sent to me from across the barren sea. You know, I'm gonna have to like just adapt or. I mean, remember when I said about adaptation being a evolutionary thing? Oh, if you don't adapt, you just have a lot on the evolutionary chain because you have to be. I mean, if resources are scarce, there's a lot of different things that are gonna, not that resources will be scarce, but I mean like human resources, like there's only so much you can do by yourself. And then you get lonely for another human companion. I don't know. Maybe that's a man, maybe it's a woman, maybe it's yourself, maybe the future, somewhere in the future, in the remote or distant future, perfect, it'll be different. People will be like, I love what's inside, and the outside doesn't matter so much. Because I don't know. Maybe I'm just in a fantasy land. If I am, well, I like my fantasy land because it's up here, out there, or it will be some way or another. If I have to like live on a remote island and have a horde of children, I mean, okay, fine, I'll grow them up to be like that. And we'll fly people in. I mean, I don't know. Not that would be a good idea. We're talking about goals, and I mean, someplace warm though. I mean, not that one island that I was looking at, the research island. Jeez, I don't want to go there again. I mean, I haven't been there. But I did think about working there once when I was a nurse. I was like, who wants to be on a flat island in the middle of a tsunami land? I mean, you know, one wave comes by. But that's why you hunker down the hatches and you like tie everything down. I think it was a missile base at one time or something. I was looking into it. I was going to be a nurse there, and there was a schoolhouse, and I saw pictures of it. I thought, well, if that's what's calling me, then, you know, start a little island with people. I don't know.
I know, like, she's not a big beer person.
I don't know. I'm sure somehow we'd figure out well, I'd have to have valerian there, because God knows what I'm like without it. Well, I'm not that bad. It takes a little adaptation to get used to me. Maybe a little bit more than is needed sometimes, but I lied when I said it was easy. I did. I admit it. Well, should have asked the hard questions, like, are you really, because looking for somebody that's easy to manipulate.
Yeah, it is. It's finding out what.
And I would have said, well, to be honest, you messed with the wrong limb twist, because I think when you open up the can of worms, you're like, oh, jeepers, where are you at? And I'm like, everywhere, sometimes. But that's just figure of speech.
Wisconsin number.
I do. You know, this ring has hearts on it, and well, it's cheap too. I got it at a deal.
Yeah.
And I was like, Sean said he's going to give me the ring like the one I got him. I hope he does. But I was like, make it cheap, because why spend gazillions of dollars on a ring that you're going to get? Some people get divorced anyways, and then they got a gazillion-dollar ring. It means as much as a $40 ring or a piece of string that you tie around your finger. It's all the same. String sometimes is more important because it means something, and you have to tie the knot yourself. Get it? Well, maybe they do. Maybe they don't. All right, I better stop this. I'm going to take off and go back to the. Hey, listen, those crows were everywhere this morning, weren't they? They were like following me, cawking away up there. I was like, well,
I mean, like I said, I don't know.
whatever. I suppose I shouldn't say cawking away up there, but silly. You know. All right, I'm going to stop.